Hi, I'm Victoria, a licensed esthetician, business owner, and influencer with over 27,000 followers on Instagram. And this is my business partner and husband, Chris. This is your Besthetician. So let's talk about motivation and 20 million excuses to just not show up. So, we're going to talk about just our personal experience with this because it is so easy to make so many excuses to not show up on Instagram, of not knowing what to post or do when it comes to your social media.
Yeah, I think I just in general, I'd like to talk about like a lot of things in the space of being a business owner and an esthetician, or for yourself, but as business owners of all the excuses you have to just not go out and do something.
Yeah.
But yeah, of course, first let's talk about Instagram, and I want to hear your perspective and ideas about the excuses and kind of like the process of posting. I mean, we post 5 days a week or try to,
Yeah.
and yeah, what's
And
that like? What's that
that's
like?
something that can definitely feel exhausting. I think a lot of people feel that way. And hopefully, your business can get to a point where you can hire a social media manager. But while you are in the process of growing your business, I think it is so important to think of the long game and the long run so that you can really just focus on quality content. And I get a lot of messages asking, what's your secret? What's the secret recipe to growing your Instagram? And the answer is that there is no easy way to
Yeah,
growing your
yeah.
Instagram.
There's no secret, that's
Yes,
for sure.
there's no
Yeah.
secret. It takes a lot of hard work. It takes a lot of showing up on Instagram. And something that, we have learned is you don't have to have fresh new content and you don't have to have a million different videos to post. You could literally repurpose the same video and keep trying different ways on how to improve it to make it catchy, make it shareable, make it so that people can, digest it and so that it can become a video that people will
Yeah.
rewatch and get shared
Yeah.
and
And I think that's a newer revelation for us. And I say newer as 6 months or so, but actually grabbing some old content that we
Mhm.
go, well, this did pretty well for our following at the
Yeah.
time. And then, finding where the errors were in that video to be able to remake it and put it back out.
Yeah.
But I think that's a good point as far as like making excuses because we've been there before of like, what are we
Mhm.
going to post today? Like
Yeah.
we've looked at each other at 8 a.m. when we normally post at 9 and go, what are we posting?
Mhm.
We have nothing. Well, we don't have anything,
Mhm.
so we can't post, right?
Yeah.
And that's the excuse. And I think it took us a little while to realize that repurposing old content it's not a bad thing to do that,
Yeah.
right? And so, I mean, it gives you one less reason why to go, I don't have content. Well, like I'm
Mhm.
sure you've had content in the past year you've posted before
Yeah.
that you can repurpose in a way that's not just grabbing the same thing and posting it over
Yeah.
again, but like you said, tweaking it
Yeah.
and then making it more, digestible for an
Mhm.
audience to go, okay, well, I'm not sure, maybe the caption, wasn't perfect, or,
Yeah.
maybe the whatever I wrote on the screen wasn't perfect, or I don't
Yeah.
like the cuts, or it's too long. So I think that's an excellent thing to go. There's no excuses anymore.
Mhm.
Take an old piece of content, repurpose it, and post it
Yeah.
again.
And I think it doesn't matter how many views, you have or how many followers that you have. I think it's repurposing your own content and seeing in your own feed and not looking at other people, okay, what of my content is doing well and how can I repurpose this video?
Hmm.
And even if you have, one clip that you think was eye-catching
Hmm.
of adding text to it that can be shareable or, adding text to it that is just tweaking things a little bit. And I think that's what's so unique about Instagram is that you can obviously the algorithm is obviously always changing, but
Hmm.
looking at things that grab people's attention and repurposing, your videos.
Yeah.
So people are, again, people always ask how do you make your videos pop? How do you make your videos, get
Yeah.
reach?
Yeah.
And it really comes down to the eye, how you're grabbing people's
Yeah, yeah,
attention.
and it is trial and error, right? I mean, we've been doing this for a while, and it is trial and error. I think, me thinking about, repurposing as well. You can also think about stories. Like, what
Mhm.
did you post in your story one day that you will go, wait a second, that was actually pretty good. It
Yeah.
reached well on stories, and that can also do well on reels.
Mhm.
But yeah, and this also can kind of circle back to like that making an excuse of like, I don't have anything to post.
Yeah.
There's always something. And going from there, we could also talk about graphics and things like that, which that does take a lot more time and maybe preparation to create a good graphic that can help your audience learn something new,
Yeah.
or just your spin on a popular graphic that can be
Mhm.
with your brand. uh, but the one thing that we always, we try to be on each other's, motivating each other, is to go,
Yeah.
there's always something to post. There's never nothing.
Mhm.
It's just an excuse that we make because maybe we're feeling lazy or feeling
Yeah.
exhausted. And especially lately on Instagram, we feeling burned out, right?
Yeah.
When you go, it's not getting reach. Like, how
Mhm.
do I repurpose old content or try to make a new video
Yeah.
if I don't feel like I'm getting the reach that I deserve?
Yeah. And I think another point too is that a lot of girls see other posts and they remake that same exact graphic or post, and it doesn't do well for them. And they're like, okay, well, why am I not growing? Why am I not reaching? And I think that just goes back to, if you're showing up every single day and trying to do better and looking at your own content and looking at within, and not being a replica of somebody else, but
Hmm.
even making your own twist to a video, or seeing what did well for you or other people. But I think it's just studying and, studying content, and wanting to do better and
Yeah.
showing up and not making excuses, because you're never going to grow if you're not posting every single day, to be honest. I
Yeah.
mean, or when you do post, you make quality content, because people complain all the time, my Instagram's not growing. What's the secret? Again,
Yeah.
and it's like, okay, you're not showing up on Instagram. And it's hard. It is hard. I think that's
Hmm.
something that, like, we're trying to be open right now, because
Yeah.
it's so hard, even with, the reach that we have. Our it's just hard
Yeah. It could
sometimes.
be hit or miss. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's no guarantee in the space. And,
Mhm.
I think, we've got a lot of growth, but we've also put a lot of work into it, right? I
Yeah.
mean, there hasn't been, we didn't leave a lot of room for excuses early on when posting as much as we did to get to the
Yeah.
place that we are, right? When we kept that motivation and kept that, even
Mhm.
if it's not working. I mean, I learned something a long time ago from somebody actually in construction that taught me there's always a way to fix a problem,
Mhm.
right? So in that, to me in that time was just construction, but it could be anywhere. So the
Yeah.
problem right now could be your posts aren't reaching the way you want that. Well, there's a
Or
solution to
it's
that
not
problem.
quality content. You're
Yep.
like vomiting content
Yeah.
that, like, has no meaning, because you're just
Exactly.
trying to get something out
Yep.
there.
And there's a solution to that, right?
Mhm.
And I think that sometimes we get so caught up in our own world because, well, this is the content we make. This is all that we can do. This is all that we're good at. And there's always a solution to get that content to reach, and to be consistent the way you want it to.
Yeah.
So it goes back to, there's no excuses,
Yeah.
right? There's always a way to go. It is possible, right? I
Yeah,
mean, when we started
definitely.
Skin by You with 0 followers,
Mhm.
we didn't think, I mean, I never thought we'd get to 27,000
Yeah.
followers, right? It was just, we took it every single day by day and kept making mistakes and kept learning
Mhm.
from those to get to the point
Yeah.
that we are
No,
now.
definitely. And at one point we were posting 2 times a day. It was exhausting, and we had just opened the business, then I found out I was pregnant, and there was just a lot of different factors, and we didn't show up a lot of the time. Like, us showing up, we could have done so much better. And I think that's another point too, is, you know, even if it takes you just posting once a day, I'm not saying that you have to post 2 times a day. That's just like, we literally drained ourselves
Yeah.
to, get the growth, and, constantly tweaking little things. But I think it's just so important to, you know, not make excuses, and to
Yeah.
try your best to show up. And if it's not for you, it's not for you. I
Yeah.
think that's something that you also have to remember too. If you want it, then go get it. If it's too overwhelming for you, then just don't do it,
Yeah. 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 And I think there is, when it comes to starting a business, there is other ways to reach new people and reach
Mhm.
new clients. And I think
Yeah.
that something people don't talk about in the aesthetic space so much, because Instagram is all we all have, and it's the community that everybody is on,
Yeah.
that we all think that's the only way to get new clientele,
Hmm.
when there is tons of ways to reach new clients and get
Yeah.
new clientele. And Instagram is just one, and it might not even be the biggest space. I mean, when you talk about referrals, when you talk about, SEO, which is search engine optimization, when it comes to your website,
Yeah.
people Googling you, um, when it comes to your local community and events,
Yeah.
when it comes to partnering with other businesses. I mean, I'm sure for a lot of people, Instagram isn't even their main source of new clients,
Yeah.
right? And I think we all put this pressure on Instagram because we see other estheticians on there that are
Yeah.
just, it seems like they're crushing it off Instagram, when in reality, like, we don't know,
Yeah.
right?
And
So
if you think about it, Instagram gives you what you want to see. So if you're an esthetician and you're looking at other people's videos and you're constantly digesting facial videos, I feel like majority of what you're going to get, that's why majority of when people get a following, it's a lot of
mhm,
estheticians.
yeah.
So I think that's another good
Yeah, it
point
can
that you
definitely,
made.
like, yeah, it could be jaded of the way you see growth and the way
Yeah.
you see what other people have. And we'll talk more about, comparison and stuff in other videos. But one other, kind of one of the last topics I want to talk about with you about is having kids, and shooting content. I know, of course, going to work every day, I mean, it takes motivation, but of course, you're not going to leave clients hanging when
Yeah.
you're going there. But I want you to kind of talk about a little bit of, like, I mean, what things can keep you motivated in your daily life with having kids, going to work, coming home, filming content, editing, working on the website, all the stuff we do on the back end?
Yeah. I mean, I think it comes down to having, your schedule. Obviously, if you do work in clinic, I pour into my clients and when I'm at work, that's what it's about. I'm there for my clients and I pour everything I have into them. But when I come home, I think it's finding a time that works for you that you can put that dedication and that work. And it is hard. Like it's 9:20 right now and I'm exhausted. I'm so tired and I just want to go to bed. But I think it's just finding that time. And for us, it's at night. It's when the kids are asleep at 9 o'clock, the baby a little bit earlier, but we have two kids now. So I think it's just finding that separate time that you can dedicate to maybe making a reel for the next day or filming content, or if you film during the day or whatever time works for you making that video at night and putting those pieces together. So I really think, I mean, it's hard. I'm not going to sit here and say that it's easy and that it's like, oh, we'll just find time. It's like you have to dedicate time and it's so hard because you want to pour into your kids, and that's something that I really try to do. We really make family a priority in our house. So that's why sometimes we don't show up on stories all the time and we don't show up on, you know, interacting with other people on Instagram as much as we like, because we don't want our whole life to be
Mhm.
that. But it really is just finding that time that works for you where you can dedicate at least 1 to 2 hours a
Yeah.
night.
And I think, with that being said, I also think it's important to realize the motivation, going back to the entire idea of this video is, like, what is your motivation? So
Yeah.
when it comes to doing the things that are hard, like, I mean, we want to enjoy filming this podcast. We want
Hmm.
to enjoy pouring into this business. When it comes to doing these things that are hard, like, what is the motivation?
Yeah.
And I think for us is to be able to spend more time with the family, so growing the business can in return get us
Yeah.
those things that we want long term, right? So we
Hmm.
have these 5-year goals, and we have to build the business to a certain point and build these streams of income and,
Yeah.
content and things like that to get us to the 5-year point where, it's not, you don't come home from an 8-hour shift or a
Yeah.
long day at work and go, how do I find time to post content? But
Yeah.
instead going, I only work 2 days a week,
Hmm.
so I have plenty of time to, spend time with
Yeah.
the family and things like that, right?
Exactly. And I think too, like, I just think about us right now, and like, I was genuinely like super excited to film tonight. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so excited to get back into it. I'm so excited to film. And I feel like we have so much knowledge and just advice to give that we're just so excited to share it with everyone. And we've been wanting to do these things for a while. And it if you're miserable doing posting or whatever it is, maybe it's just not for you, and that's okay. If you can build your clientele a different way, that's totally okay. Don't feel pressure to grow on social media just because you feel like everybody else is. But at the end of the day, just show up, like be ready to show up and be authentic. And if you're ready to show up, then do it.
Yeah.
If
And I
you're
think,
not,
yeah.
then
Yeah, I
it's not
think,
for you, and that's
yeah,
okay.
with that being said, I also think that that's something we can dive into later of
Yeah.
what other ways people can show up that's maybe not on Instagram because they don't feel comfortable
Yeah.
recording themselves. And I think there is plenty of avenues in
A
this business to
100%.
market
Yeah.
yourself that is not just Instagram. And we've utilized Instagram. It's worked very well for us. It's not our only avenue of bringing new clients in, but it's worked
Yeah.
very, very well.
Mhm.
But I also want other people to know watching this video that it's not the only option. And they
Yeah.
shouldn't think that if they can't post good on Instagram, that their business can't grow. And I think that the aesthetic space as a whole has made people feel like,
Yeah.
well, if you can't do this, all these girls that do social media marketing for estheticians kind of make you feel like if you can't make Canva graphics, if you can't post like this, if you can't show up on your story like this, your clients can't find you.
Yeah.
And they can find you. And I think that's something that we'll dive into in
Yeah.
more videos, or maybe, that's my, like me nerding out,
Yeah.
but talking about other spaces that estheticians can dive into
Yeah.
if social media isn't their, bread and butter, and it's not something that they're super comfortable with.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I feel like we have so many topics to talk about, and just, how to build your ideal clientele, how to step out of social media and grow your clientele. So many exciting things, and just, Instagram isn't always what it seems. So,
Yeah.
with that being said, I think we're going to wrap up this episode, and we're so excited. If you guys have any specific questions, please comment in the comment section of your questions, and we'd be more than happy to answer and give us some inspiration to make more videos. But thank you so much. Do you have anything else to say?
No, I think that's about it. Yeah, thank you guys for watching this. Make sure you follow Victoria at Skin by You AZ on Instagram. And if you have any questions from there, also DM right on there.
Yes. Alrighty, we'll talk to you later.